Greetings, nerds! I am Loki of Asgard, and I am burdened with glorious purpose. And that purpose is to make sure to let you guys know which MCU projects to watch after Endgame and which ones to not. Sorry for the bit, but the reason I started this series is to let you guys know which projects to watch and which ones to not after Endgame, because a lot of people gave up, a lot of people said Marvel's not good anymore, and just decided to not watch anything. Which is ridiculous because how many good projects there really are in Phase 4 and Phase 5. Yes, there's a lot of crap, but there's a lot of good parts. So that's why I'm here. I've watched it all, and I know what to watch and what to not. So if you decide, oh, I do want to watch that, go watch it. That's great. But if you don't want to watch it, I'm here to clarify all that happens, sum everything up, and give you the really important details so you guys know what happened in the show or the movie. So when you go see Secret Wars, when you go see Doomsday, you'll know what's happening. And you won't have to go over to your friend being like, who is that? Obviously, this video is for people who don't want to waste their time, so let's get straight into it. But if you do enjoy, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and right into the notification bell. Okay, let's get straight into it. Let's get into the reasons why you should watch Loki Season 1. Gives Loki an entire series where he wants to be good. Owen Wilson as Mobius is fantastic. Gives us a clearer understanding of how time travel and multiversal stuff works. Every episode had a great hook, had a great ending, whether it was a twist or just something crazy happened. It was just such a fun experience going week by week, talking about the episode, and just a lot happened. Every single episode. It's not afraid to jump from funny to scary to sad because of how talented the actors are. So now we're gonna go into why you should not watch Loki. If you really want to understand the Loki multiverse and time travel stuff, it does get really confusing. So for an older audience or a casual audience, there's a lot to try to understand. I think Loki Season 2 is a lot more complicated, which I love, but I get that some people don't love that. And the finale of the show is just a lot of talking, which I find really interesting, but I also understand how it could be kind of boring for people. So what's the consensus? I think you need to watch Loki, especially for how important Loki's going to be in Avengers Doomsday. If you want to go see Avengers Doomsday, you need to watch Loki Season 1 and Season 2. I don't think this is a skip for anybody. I think some of the other ones aren't going to be as integral, but if you want to know about multiverse and you want to know about time travel in a really fun and exciting way, watch Loki. So if you're still watching, that probably means you haven't seen Loki Season 1, or you probably haven't seen it in a while and you just want to remember what the episodes are about. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be going over the background of Loki, all the information and all the movies before Loki Season 1, and I'm going to be summing up episodes 1 through 6. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Alright, to start this off, I think we have to go back to the beginning. Loki, god of mischief, son of Odin. Well, not really. He was a frost giant, and he got adopted by Odin to make peace between the 9 realms because he's actually
Laufey's son.
Yeah, it's all pretty messed up, but especially messed up because he prefers and cherishes his biological son, Thor. Obviously, Loki and Thor throughout the movies have this brotherly, like, hatred and love for each other. Like, they have that banter. In Thor 1, Loki puts Odin to sleep. He sends the Destroyer after Thor, and then he loses. Loki in Avengers 1 is given the scepter by Thanos to go get the Space Stone, but he ultimately is being used as a pawn, and then loses anyways. Loki's imprisoned, but then he sends the Dark Elves to go kill his brother and his father, but then ultimately sends them to go kill his mother. And for reference, he loves his mother. And then later in the movie, he escapes and he sacrifices himself for his family, but it was an illusion. Then in Thor Ragnarok, Loki is posed as Odin, and Thor finds out and he's pissed, so they go on a whole adventure. They go see the Grand Master, it's a whole thing, and then eventually they get along, but then they let Surtur blow up Asgard. Then in Avengers Infinity War, Loki gets choked out by Thanos and dies. For real this time. But in Avengers Endgame, that whole side plot with Loki and he's picking up the Space Stone, that's where we leave off. Episode 1, we go back to 2012 and we see Loki go from Avengers Tower and he picks up the Space Stone, he teleports to some other country, I forget what it is, but that wasn't supposed to happen according to an organization called the TVA. Who are the TVA? Well, Loki finds out they're an organization of people who make sure a specific timeline goes exactly according to plan so it doesn't cause the multiverse to invade it. Because when the multiverse invades that universe, there's a multiversal war and everything gets taken out. And then there's these 3 like time lords, they're called the timekeepers. They make sure everything goes according to plan, and then they have a bunch of people who work for them. Loki goes through the TVA processing system and it's pretty much like the DMV, so obviously it sucks for him. So then basically Loki goes to like time court, and then he gets accused of being guilty because he wasn't supposed to pick up the Space Stone, but the Avengers were supposed to be in the past. So then the TVA is gonna prune him. We'll get to what pruning is later, but let's move on. But then Owen Wilson's character Mobius steps in and saves him because he could be useful. Basically the whole rest of the episode has Mobius, which is Owen Wilson's character, interrogating Loki and trying to figure out what makes him tick so that he can help him figure out how to stop the more superior variant, which is just a different version of a Loki. Because that version of a Loki is attacking all the TVA workers, employees, whatever. In episode 2, Loki's trying to be difficult and he keeps trying to flip on the TVA. That doesn't work. So then Loki and Mobius try and go on their own to try to figure out what the variant wants and what the variant's doing and where the variant is. They eventually figure out that the variant is hiding in apocalypses because the apocalypse is already chaos, so everything's supposed to be crazy, so something minor happening isn't gonna alert the TVA, oh yeah, something's happening here that's not supposed to happen because there's a disaster happening. And they literally go to Pompeii, and the people of Pompeii all die, so they can't alert anybody that anything strange is happening, so you cannot find the variant. So eventually Loki and Mobius go and they find out where the variant is, what apocalypse they're hiding in, but it ends up being a trap. The variant we now know as Sylvie leaves the apocalypse and bombs the sacred timeline, which basically means she grabbed a bunch of reset charges from the TVA, she placed them all around and then sent them to places where everything is going according to plan and no variant activity is being placed, but it has a reverse effect because the charge is supposed to clear all the bad things that's supposed to happen, but instead, now a bunch of branches form on the sacred timeline, and the TVA has to send everybody out so that they can go clean everything up. Going from episode 2 to episode 3, Loki follows Sylvie, and then they end up on this planet called Lamentus. And this, of course, is another apocalypse where a planet is going to crash right into this moon, or the moon's going to crash into the planet. I don't really know. One of the two. Throughout the episode, Sylvie and Loki agree, and then they disagree, and then they get mad at each other about how they handle certain situations and how their life panned out. Sylvie reveals to Loki that all the members of the TVA are variants, and they're just being told that they were created by the Timekeepers to protect the sacred timeline, but that's just a lie. The episode ends with Loki and Sylvie trying to get off the planet onto a spaceship that's supposed to leave the planet, but then is supposed to get crashed into anyways, but then Loki proposes they never had us to help them, so maybe we can get off the planet. But that doesn't work, so, because the ship crashes. We figure out that Mobius's judge friend, Renslayer, took Sylvie in as a child because she was just playing on Asgard and there was something that she wasn't supposed to do. It never gets revealed what she wasn't supposed to do, but she was just a child and they took her in. Loki and Sylvie sit on Lamentus and kind of accept their fate, but their bond, their connection, kind of alerts the TVA and causes a big branch so that Mobius and Hunter B-15 can find them. Loki eventually convinces Mobius to help him, and Sylvie eventually convinces Hunter B-15 to help her, because now they both realize that they had their lives stripped from them because they realized that they're variants and they had a full-on life, and maybe they had children, maybe they had a good job, maybe had a really great life on the sacred timeline, but that was ripped from them, and now they're being lied to and brainwashed by the TVA. Loki, Sylvie, and Hunter B-15 fight and kill one of the Timekeepers, and as one of their heads start to roll off, they realize that they are fake robots, Wizard of Oz style. There's another man behind the curtain. Loki's having a really deep and meaningful conversation with Sylvie, but then he gets pruned by Renslayer. And then in the post-credit scene, he's recruited by a bunch of variants of himself to make sure he doesn't die, and now he's in the void. In episode 5, Loki and a bunch of his variants are trying to stay alive in the void, which is just a piece of land at the end of the sacred timeline, which is basically just the TVA's trash can. They just prune everyone and send them there, and then a being called Alioth, which is just a big smoke monster, basically eats everybody up and just deletes them from the sacred timeline. Eventually, Loki finds Sylvie and Mobius in the void and is able to escape and unlock his magic powers to uncover the veil across the void so he can find the real home of the person who created the TVA. Episode 6 actually starts with one of my favorite sequences of any MCU project ever. The intro starts with us in one black hole, and then we zoom out and go into another black hole which then shows us a physical manifestation of the sacred timeline that surrounds this citadel. And as we're going around that sacred timeline, we can hear voices of MCU characters from clips of movies and TV shows. Loki and Sylvie enter that huge citadel and debate what they need to do to save the universe and to save everybody from the TVA. And they eventually find out that the TVA is just ruled by this guy. He calls himself He Who Remains. He's also known as Kang the Conqueror. There's a bunch of different nicknames you can have for him, and he is all throughout the multiverse. And he kind of explains that he's the good guy. Like, he is the one who's keeping everything in tame. He's making sure that things don't get crazy. He's pruning things just so that the sacred timeline can be safe. Loki argues that, okay, maybe we shouldn't kill this guy for entrapping everyone in the TVA, because it seems like if we kill him, bad things are going to happen. But Sylvie says, if you're just trapping everybody into the sacred timeline and not letting people be who they are, then you're keeping them from free will. So both sides seem like they have a point, but Loki wants to talk it out, but Sylvie cannot be convinced, and she's not going to waste any time, and she goes and kills the guy, kicks Loki through a portal, and then the episode ends there. In the post-credit scene, we see Loki back in the TVA. He goes and he sees Mobius, and he's like, oh hey, whatever, we gotta go stop this guy, he's crazy. But Mobius doesn't recognize him, which is really weird. And then he looks over and he sees a giant statue of He Who Remains. And that's it for Loki Season 1. So this show basically builds the groundwork of all of the multiverse, and I think gives us the most deep understanding of how the multiverse works, how time travel works, how a bunch of the MCU logic works in the terms of time travel and multiversal things, and a bunch of different things. Gave us variants, gave us all sorts of stuff. And then they also gave us who we thought was going to be the big next villain of the MCU in Kang the Conqueror with Jonathan Majors. That whole situation just really sucks for everybody, honestly. But I think potentially, in my head, we were going to jump from Kang the Conqueror to Doom anyway. So the fact that now we're going to get Doomsday, and we know that Tom Hiddleston is in the movie. Again, we'll get into what to watch or what to not. Season 2 of Loki. Just a spoiler. Go watch Loki Season 1 and Loki Season 2. But that'll be all. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, make sure to like button, subscribe, and
give me the Tesseract or I'll gut you like a fish, Casey. What's a fish?
right into the notification bell. Make sure you have a fantastic day. And if you can have a fantastic day today, have a fantastic day tomorrow. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later, nerds!